Never
Like
even.
6-7.
Are you talking about? Carry out.
6 or 7. Yeah, no one's on Zoom. Wait, next weekend, like on the 6th and 7th. No, next weekend's the 11th. So like 6 of us. Okay. I just do more weeks of part of this series or something. Yeah. Okay, I have to go through first. You're having an emergency over Point Furman. You're flying, you got your PPL, you're flying a passenger for the first time, your little buddy or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whoever. You're flying them, so someone who doesn't know how to fly a plane, and you're headed back to KTOA, and your engine stops over Point Furman. What are you doing? Or the prop stops spinning. Yeah. Scream. Then what? ABC, I like it. What's A? Airspeed, what are we pitching for? 72, easy. B. Where is that? We're over Point Furman. Where are we aiming for? From? Anyone else? It doesn't have to be, you could choose. I'm not looking for one correct answer, but there's a couple. If you're over Point Furman, you've got a couple options. Also, depending on one of your first questions should be, what altitude am I at? If you're at 4,500, you've got a lot more options than you do if you're coming back at 2,000, right? So depending on the altitude, you have a couple options. You've got the beach, the San Pedro beach, San Pedro, whatever you call it in California. The beach right there, they do have power lines for some reason over the beach, which is annoying. So be aware that there's power lines on the beach. So if you're coming down, you have to like basically land inside of a box with the power lines on either side. You could do the sand pit, is easy if you have enough altitude to get over there. Trump golf course is always an option, but it's pretty bumpy, so you have to be aware. You have longer distance you can land on, but it's not going to be a flat surface. You have the baseball diamond. Over Point Furman, you have a lot of different options, right? Okay, here he goes with his little sassy answers. You and your friend both begin to rapidly cuss. After 2 cuss words, you do what you do, or you do what pilots do, aviate. You immediately pitch. For 72, we said that. You pick where you're going to land. In this case, you are close to the airport, depending on altitude. What's our glide range? 10,000 feet for every 1,000 of altitude. So we don't know in feet. What is that nautical miles? Close to 3. You're going 2 nautical miles? It's a little, 2's a little, you're rounding up. It's like it's more conservative, but really it's 1.6 closer. So we usually do 1.5 conservatively down, undershoot so that you have more distance than you realize. Okay, so 1.5 nautical miles is what we're looking at for every 1,000 feet of altitude. So do a little research. I forgot my iPad today, so I can't look at it, but do a little research on ForeFlight and use your 2 fingers to measure the distance between like Point Furman and back to the runway, or do Point Furman in the middle of the runway, not just to the end of the runway. That will get you. Do like Trump Golf Course over to the runway, do Vincent Thomas Bridge over to the runway, and see what those nautical mile ranges are, and then figure out if you can make it. That way you have a better understanding. And if you're in the air and you're at 3,000 feet, then you have an easier time thinking, okay, I've measured this before. I have enough altitude to get me back to the runway, or I've measured this, I don't have enough altitude. If you're able to make a better decision in the air, you're wasting less time trying to figure this out. And then when you can make it back to the runway, you're not ditching in the sand pit for no reason, right? So do a little research on points that you can identify and how far the distance is in nautical miles to get back to Torrance. You also have to account for if you're on the opposite side over the Horseshoe or Trump, you have to get over PV, right? So the distance could get you there, but can you make it while descending on top of the hill back to the runway? Okay, lots of things to think about. If you don't look at this before, you'll probably just decide to put it down somewhere instead of trying to make it back to the runway, right? If you try to make it back and you don't make it, chances are you're landing on top of someone's house instead of anywhere with a flat surface. So do a little background research so you have a good idea of that, but 1.5 is a conservative number for how many nautical miles you get horizontally for 1,000 feet. Okay. What do they keep? Okay, you make your call, you just begin restarting the engine, you blindly crank the key and ensure the fuel pumps are on and whatnot. Being the professional you are, you realize that you can grab the POH, open the chapter 3, you direct your friend to go through the checklist, start reading. Each step you take a second, double check what you're doing. You aviate. During the checklist, you notice your left fuel tank is empty, you switch to the fuel selector, crank the key, and boom. Okay, so you were just an idiot. You ran out of fuel on your left tank or whatever it was. Yeah, your left tank ran dry. So you switch the fuel selector, you have an engine again. Now you can go back to tune on right. Okay, easy enough. Biggest thing we need to take from this is if we're in the practice area, I mean anywhere, you should know your glide distance range so you can make a decision on where you can get to. What is the maximum possible? The number in the POH is 10 to 1, but that, yeah, 10,000 feet for every 1,000 feet of altitude, and 10,000 feet is roughly 1.5 nautical miles. It's like 1.6. For 10,000, for 10 to 1 glide range? 10 to 1 glide range is 1,000 feet of altitude, 10,000 feet horizontal distance, and then 10,000 feet horizontal distance is about 1.6. 1.5 is easier to calculate in the air, so we use 1.5 nautical miles. Okay, what is the max positive load or limit load factor without flaps and with flaps? +4, -2, and then negative. Someone say it louder that knows it. Yeah. 2 and -1. Okay, and best glide speed, we obviously know. Surprise limitation, everyone should know this. Best glide is what? 72. Easy. Okay, let's get to the nav log, which is going to take up pretty much all of today. We're planning to Palm Springs, right? We what's the word? Previewed this yesterday. In preparation for today, we're going to talk about using, I've got an E6B here to do a couple calculations for the wind on here. And then I also found yesterday that they have an ASA calculator app, whatever. So if you don't have the calculator and you're at home doing the nav log, you can use this little online app for the calculator, which makes it easy. So we'll do that as well. And then we're gonna move along the navlog with this video that's really good. They use every time they're teaching navlogs. It's the free pilot training guide. We're gonna watch a little bit of the video, pause it, do our navlog, go back to the video, so you don't have to hear me talking for the next 2 hours again. So we'll start. Yeah, it's already on. Also, I hear my voice. That's annoying. Okay. Okay, so obviously he's in the middle of nowhere, and this makes it really easy to do a straight line all the way to the other non-towered airport, non-towered to non-towered. You've basically got Echo and Golf airspace all between here, and then you can choose waypoints in between off this straight line. We don't have that advantage of doing nav blocks, so the problem that he has that he talks about is like going zigzag from one airport to another, going around. This is what we kind of have to do on ours, so we're SkyVector. So we already talked about yesterday what's the biggest reason why we can't do a straight line to Palm Springs? Yeah, biggest reason, mountain. Giant mountain right here that we're gonna fly into if we're VFR. Other reason, we're trying to avoid complicated airspace over here, especially Bravo shelves. And since we won't be cleared through the Bravo just by being on flight following like we will with Charlie airspace, we have to get a separate clearance to go through the Bravo, so we want to avoid the Bravo. We also are worried about, where to go? We're worried about over here, this mountain over here. We can't really just cut right through. That peaks 4,000. We'll be at 5,500, but really we want to move in between. There's another canyon over here that we want to move through. And then we're worried about this mountain. So ours is more complicated. We're gonna have to do more math than what he does on the video, but let's go through our waypoints again, so we can write them down on our nav block. So first waypoint I talked about was down here. Either we picked, I think last time, the Queen Mary, but we're trying to avoid this 5,000 Bravo shell, so we want to come down here, skirt under that, and then we can go Seal Beach up to the 6,000 Bravo shell. So last time we chose the Queen Mary because it has a GPS waypoint identifier, which is good to put in our GPS. You could also choose any other one of these. Queen's Gate is a little bit further than the Queen Mary, which gives us time to do this might more accurately align with our top of climb instead of having to do a separate top of climb checkpoint and then the Queen Mary, or actually the Queen Mary can come first and then our top of climb. So it's really up to you. A lot of people do it differently on what they do. Some people put top of climb as their first waypoint, and then the next one would be the Queen Mary, but really there's only like 2 nautical mile difference between there. And some people have had problems with putting waypoints that close to each other on there. I've heard of people in their check ride with older DPEs who kind of verbally abuse them for why would you put a checkpoint 2 nautical miles away from your last checkpoint. So some people have taken out top of climb and top of descent through the whole thing. They just do checkpoints, and then over here in the open space, like if your top of climb is between KTOA and Seal Beach, you would put in between there, top of climb should be somewhere around this time after this many minutes over this way, whatever you want to do. So for today's planning, I'm going to choose Queen's Gate, which on here is not helpful. It's a GPS point, but Queen's Gate you should be able to do. Does everyone have their iPad with them to do this also simultaneously on 4 flights? Let's do that. Pull out your iPad, because what you're going to be doing realistically is planning this on 4 flight electronically, like I'm doing on SkyVector, picking your points on here so you can change them around and measure. And then once you've picked your points using 4 flight, then you'll go back and fill out the actual paper nav log. Okay? So if we want to do a GPS waypoint, we can do the Queen Mary, which would mean our Queen Mary would be our first. So Queen Mary is VPLQN. So we would put that.
We're doing this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you with the top of climb added. If you decide later that you want to take top of climb and top of descent out of the actual checkpoints and put it on the side, that's up to you. I'll show you the longer way today. So VP, Q, L, M, I think. Okay. Then I know this based off experience, but we're going to calculate our top of climb. Maybe at this point you wouldn't realize that the top of climb would come after the Queen Mary instead of before, but because I've flown this 1,000 times, I know the top of climb is going to come after the Queen Mary. So we'll put top of climb, if I can move it on. There you go. We'll put top of climb as the third checkpoint, and these are going to be really close to each other, but if you can, most things with the Navlog, if you have a good explanation to give the DPE, they might give you a hard time about why would you do that, you're doing extra work, whatever, that's their prerogative, but really, neither one of these is the wrong way to do it, okay? So we'll include top of climb and top of descent on ours. From the Queen Mary, top of climb will probably be somewhere over here, like 2 nautical miles, but we'll calculate that in a second. Next, we're gonna go Seal Beach, because that's on the edge of the Bravo right here, so as we pass by. And the VOR is right here, so we could also use, instead of the Seal Beach Airport, we could use the Seal Beach VOR and then have the VOR as backup navigation. So we can plan that VOR is gonna be right at the edge of the Bravo shelf. So we'll put SLI as our next one, because just the 3-letter identifier is a VOR. If I had a K in front of that, that would be the airport. K SLI is the airport, just SLI is Seal Beach. VOR. So we can also put in our VOR frequencies what the frequency is for Seal Beach. People who are looking at their iPad, someone tell me what the frequency is for Seal Beach. 7, yeah. And an instrument, you'll probably memorize that like I have. But right now, we're gonna put it on here.
He likes to pick a radio for his.
Yeah, you could also, he picked a radial because he's trying to keep that straight line distance all the way so he can have an intersection over his already planned course. We're gonna fly right on top of the VOR, so all we would have to do if we were for some reason lost, I don't know why you'd be lost at this point, you're barely gone from the airport, but you should be familiar. But if you were lost, you would type this in and then hit sync course. If we remember, sync course will take us directly to the VOR. So that's what we want to do here, is go directly to VOR. Like he's doing in the video, he's making it extremely simple by drawing a straight line and then picking things off to the side, picking radials that cross this line that he's already drawn to help him keep the straight line, which is another way to do it. Most people doing phase checks and check rides here in this airspace are going to be choosing kind of offset points back and forth to get around all this instead of a straight line trying to choose points around. It works better when you're in the middle of nowhere with only uncontrolled airports. Okay, from there, like I said, there's another big mountain over here that we're gonna try to get around. We also need to go a little bit north over here because eventually we're gonna have to get around this mountain anyway. So they have another checkpoint with a flag and a GPS point. VPLSA is the Santa Ana Canyon, which is also very visible from the air, so it's easy to find. So we'll use that as SM. I'll have that, which remaining LSA. Okay, so that takes us And we can see on sky vector, the sky vector and ForeFlight are rounding up on these numbers, but 18 nautical miles between Seal Beach VOR and Santa Ana Canyon. So that works. We're also taking note so we can talk about in a phase check or a check ride, taking note of things around this route that we could be looking for. One of them, namely, is Disneyland. It looks like we'll be off on our right shoulder as we're flying. And we'll also get to this intersection up here and be following a road basically all the way through the canyon, which is easy to see as well. Okay? From the Santa Ana Canyon, now we want to go somewhere up here north to get us away from the top of this mountain up here, get us towards, we know we want to go Banning Pass, if we remember, so we want to get up somewhere. We have a couple options that all look like they're within distance. You could do the Riverside Airport, you could do the VOR on Riverside. If they have a VOR, you could do Flabob, you could do Mount Ruby Do. The flag over here. The mountain would be easy to see, but it doesn't have a GPS waypoint. So personally, I would like to back up with the GPS. So this is fine to look out and see to check where we are. But maybe we want to go another VOR. Let's do Riverside VOR is RAL. And we'll go back here. RAL, and then we can look right back on the sectional. Some of these tabs. 108.6. You can see inside the box. Riverside VOR 108.6. So we'll put that over here. This is 108.6. Okay. Next, back here. And between the Santa Ana Canyon and the Riverside VOR is 14 nautical miles, so that looks good. We're shooting for like between 10 and 20 nautical miles. So that looks good. And we also know off to our right, we're going to see Corona Airport, the runway, and we're also going to pass by Paradise VOR. So these are also keeping us on track, moving up to our next waypoint. So if you want to remember and also talk about it, you could write those checkpoints that you're going to see off to the side. On the side, the white part on the side, you could write between the Santa Ana Canyon and the VOR, you're going to see Corona Airport or Paradise VOR. You can put that off to the side so you remember what you're looking for as you're on your cross country. Okay, next, I'm going to go ahead and do the Banning Pass itself because that's going to be closer. If I go all the way to Banning Airport, that's probably going to be closer to 30 nautical miles. So let's shorten it and do the Banning Pass waypoint VPLBP. VPLBP. Okay. Then we're getting close to where am I? Getting close to that. That is 23. So just over 20. I'm cool with that. We're also noting that from Riverside, really once we get to this intersection, and maybe we have the mountain peak off to our left, we can follow this highway or road or whatever. It looks like it follows in a straight line all the way to the Banning Pass. So that's helpful, right? We can write down from Riverside, there should be a mountain peak off to our left. And then once we get to the highway intersection, we're just following that straight to the Banning Pass. Really easy to talk about this stuff realistically. If you're looking outside, just doing, what's it called when we're looking outside, just based on visual checkpoints and flying. Piloted, good. We learn things. Okay. Lastly, I have to go back to World VFR because it doesn't go all the way to Palm Springs, but we can see we have a giant mountain on this side and we have a giant mountain peak on this side, both at like 11,000. Over here's like a peak at like 6,500. So we're kind of forced to go in between those mountains through this canyon, the Banning Pass, following this road, right? So we know, even though our line is off centered into the mountain a little bit, that we're going to be following this line here. If we want to make it more on point with what we're actually doing, we could move our line to the VOR instead of the airport and have that be our last one, and that makes more of a straight line coming down. But really, at this point, it's not that big a deal to keep the line here. You know you're not going to be flying. We're VFR. If we were IFR, you might need to make the line more obvious that you're going to fly. But here we know we're following the canyon between the two mountains, and we're following this road down to Palm Springs. So even though it cuts a little bit into the mountain right here, that's okay with them. You can talk about with them how you're visually going to fly in between two mountains. It's kind of stupid if you're looking outside and you fly yourself into the side of the mountain. So I'm just going to talk about how we're going to follow this into the airspace. If you really cared about it, you could make the VOR another point, but then you have about like 5 nautical miles between your last point and your airport. So might as well just keep it there. Does everyone feel okay about choosing checkpoints here? I changed it a little bit from yesterday just because closer to, where'd it go? There's the deck. Closer to Riverside is the waypoint of the beginning of Banning Pass, so we changed it from actual Banning Airport, which is fine. And then we also changed it to Santa Ana Canyon, so it's kind of in the middle, and then we have Corona Airport and Paradise VOR as checkpoints that we're visually checking to make sure we're on the right path flying this. Okay. The last section is technically 25, which I'm okay with because we have visual waypoints. Like I said, 25, you don't want to go any closer to 30 if you don't know where you're going. But at this point, what should be in between probably Banning Pass and our airport? Top of descent. So then we have another checkpoint. So we're going to put top of descent here. So that will be a checkpoint we do inside the plane with dead reckoning instead of a visual waypoint outside. And then lastly will be the airport. AS. Yes.
What before checkpoints and not you just you say that.
You just hit another page of the nav log and you just keep going and going and going. When you do most of the ones you're going to do for private, you'll be able to do like this, keep on one page if you're going like just about 15 nautical miles away. But if you're doing a long cross country, especially for your commercial where you have to go 300 nautical miles away, and you're doing a paper nav log, that's just going to be multiple pages. You just do a whole nother page, keep adding on to the original. Okay. So there's our checkpoints, easy enough. Whatever. Okay, so we all have that written down. Do we have in ForeFlight in the flight plan? Do we have that also added in ForeFlight? Because we're going to use ForeFlight with those same points that we wrote down on paper. We're going to send that to flights, and then that's going to give us information for our winds aloft table. That's going to give us our weather briefing, all the other stuff added to this. Okay. So I'm really stupid for not bringing my iPad today, forgetting it home. But if you're going into ForeFlight, you're on the flight plan. Do you see where you can choose your airplane at the top? Okay, let's choose an airplane for today. What aircraft are we going to fly? Someone give me the first one they see on there. 991. Okay. There we go. 991.911. Okay, so we're gonna fly 991 Alpha Lima. So choose that up there, then you can see where you can choose your cruise altitude up there. If you click on the cruise altitude, it should give you down at the bottom easterly, westerly, IFR, VFR. So if you for some reason forget, you can choose we're going easterly, right? And VFR, so it should give you options and you can choose 5,500, which is what we chose yesterday. Okay. And then what time should we take off today? What time's our flight? 11 is probably not clear yet, so let's make it, we're gonna leave at 1 p.m. today. Okay? So that's gonna be, let me look at the 4 flight numbers. Does everyone know how to put the time that you're leaving in there? Yes. On the side, there should be ETD, you click on it, you choose today at 1 p.m. And then you have to click close on this, which is confusing in order to keep it. If you click now, it's just going to change back to time that is now.
1 p.m.
No, it shouldn't do Zulu in 4 flight. Do you have Zulu time in 4 flight? Oh, that might be your settings. Go to settings down to units and time under preferences. And then you can change times to local times instead of Zulu time. Do you find it?
Yeah, that's maybe.
Okay, good. Okay, so we should have 1 Alpha Lima, 5,500 on our altitude. Beautiful. And we're gonna leave at 1 p.m. and we should have all of our little checkpoints in here. So we're gonna send that to flights. So we're gonna click on the box with the up arrow. Does everyone see that? It looks like the save button. The send to button, the box with the up arrow on the bottom. On the same line where it has the briefcase and the star and the little globe. Then send to flights is where you're gonna send it.
What time do we decide?
1 p.m.
Does it matter if we're long distance plane or plane?
The performance and like the weight and balance will be a little different, but not by much.
This one. Said you hit the box with the up arrow to send it to your
Yeah,
flights?
it should say send to and then just like flights.
Dave, you say your altitude is.
Yeah.
We're
So back up there, 1 p.m. blanks into exactly an hour. Are you looking on where you find send to? The box on here, that's the star, and they should put lights. Stop. Did everyone find how to send it to flights? Help each other out if someone's next to you and doesn't know.
So does it, we need it, you said a RPM.
Yeah, it's usually just up to 5,000.
You want me to keep it up to about 500?
Yeah, that's fine. We're not doing performance calculations, we'll do our own, we don't need to do it.
Yes.
Said that.
Oh, oops. Is it LSA?
There we go, okay.
I was just. That's my short-term memory. I tried to remember what it said on here and then I. BP. There you go. Go back to. Yeah. Okay, are we still confused or can we move on? You got it? Send it to your flights and for flight. So we have that ready for the weather briefing. Okay, the next box, go back to the video. Oh. Okay, so his is easy because he did a straight line, so the course is the same for all of them. We have to find the course for every single leg because they're different, so we have a lot of practice today. He had a stationary one with the wheel at the top, so he lined up the top of the wheel with the line of longitude. If you have the one that spins in a full circle, you're gonna have to spin the circle until the 0 degrees is lined up with the nearest line of longitude, so it points to true north. And then take the ruler and line it up across. This is really hard to explain with words, so everyone take out a sectional, look at a sectional chart that's next. I like how many sectional charts I've seen. And then if you're confused, I'll come over and show you how to do it, but line up the ruler on the line.
Yeah, it's like those colors.
If anyone needs one, I have an extra one. We'll line up the ruler and then the course arrow. It looks like all of you have the same one I have.
I know, it's right here.
You don't need it all of the else. You can a little bit on the way.
There.
Oh, no, it's not you.
What are we doing? Or just. We can step out there, so we can stay. You're right. So you wanna do it. Oh.
Okay, if you have the line, then we're gonna match, see if this arrow.
Oh.
Our course arrow. So we're gonna line up that. Along the line.
Is it hard to see on the?
And then spin this, so just a 0 closest line is on. What are we trying to see? What are the things? It's not.
And now. I don't know what it's like, this is right.
We got to.
What they're doing.
Yes, this one.
Words.
That is one over.
Okay, what are people getting for the first true force? 113, 112, 113,
Yeah.
110, 110, 113.
Like one.
I got like 2 degrees. 110, 10, 10. Nobody else is doing anything? No, if only the TAC chart has the specific points, so close to the Queen Mary is the Speedway. You see it right here? Queen Mary's this point, and then Speedway's right here, so it's just like right at the edge of that diamond for the Speedway is where the Queen Mary would be. Okay? Well, it's the same.
BP.
One take.
It's saying this. It's like this topic. And then it's getting.
Oh, okay, so when you go to. Obvious, what I do is I just like the.
Oh, I messed this one up.
Yes. Should be insert.
I messed this one up.
It's like saying it like this. Or is this like all the questions? Also, all.
That's pagans.
Oh, something, say that.
You think you.
Oh.
PPL QM.
Oh.
LQM.
My bad.
I just say the bigger words.
You're good. It's close. There's one off.
Write it down.
Things that I today. Keep it today.
Love.
There we go. Now we're good. But I'm substitute. Looks like EPL Cuba. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, if you found the first one, keep moving. Keep doing all. Yeah. Course route.
Said
First one.
right?
Yeah. Course route right here. This is your true course. That first box right here. How do you true course? There.
Okay, 110 goes here. Okay, yes. 110. Let's find our second one. So now we're going from the Queen Mary to, I guess, SLI. Top of climb is different. So we're gonna, since this is just climb, I think we skip that. We're measuring from here to here. Yeah. I don't know top climb.
Use the same one from the last.
So we'll keep 110.
Keep 110.
Yeah. Okay. So we're keeping one. She looks like a pirate, but. They say everything. People take out pictures so bad. Let's take a picture of me. There's a picture of like a fighter pilot who did. He's literally flying like a fighter jet. I just didn't quite tell you. So we're gonna keep
So I think we're gonna call this on, yeah.
Here, if you want to use mine, use mine on this. So whenever you want, if you want to change it, I would just erase them all and start from Queen Mary and. Yeah, so. So make sure it's this order. Then don't start to make sure you. Just type it in there.
I usually just keep the last course the same for the top of climb. If we keep it in the waypoints. So it's after. I just keep it the same course that we're going.
You're putting it on.
No, I don't skip it.
Line.
I just keep it the same.
It's all like a single on the force and stop at like straight.
There's another, where is it?
This goes underneath.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Honestly, no,
To be like, right.
I've done this, but maybe this is the same. Let's do top of.
Okay,
We could do,
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
top of climb, yeah.
Where's the,
Want the zero going straight up. Right?
what?
You want the zero going straight up or in the direction. Go. These, so you line up the ruler with your course, right? Yeah. You line up the ruler.
It's right on the 238. Do you see this on the, I have it on a screen right here. It's right next to the 238. B 8-21 right here. See that on this actual? If you find Corona Airport, it's like right off the line. This Corona Airport right here. You go Disneyland, follow this blue line off Disneyland. Is there a blue line on there? Follow the blue line from Disneyland, and it's right at the edge of the Compass Rose. Yeah, you see the Compass Rose right here? It's right at the end of Compass Rose, right before Corona. You see it? But not everything yet, Jake. When you do yours, are you doing just off to the side, top of climb? That's what I've always done it, but in the last instructor did. I know. Honestly, I might combine them. I might combine them.
So go there.
Okay, sorry everyone, I'm gonna update this because it is confusing, I don't like it, so just mark out top of climb right here, we're gonna combine the Queen Mary with the top of climb. So you can just skip this box, move on to the next, so it's only one line.
Oh, it's ugly.
It's stupid. That's right. We should use pencils. The.
How is it ugly?
These are.
Oh. It's not gonna be exact, but it makes it make more sense when we do the entire line. I've seen it both ways, so I was trying to do the more complicated way today, so you know how to do the longer way, but most people are either combining them with a waypoint or they're putting them off to the side. So we're gonna combine them. So it's gonna be after. Yeah. Say it? Yeah. Yeah. Our true airspeed going from KTOA to our top of the line of the Queen Mary is gonna be different than from the Queen Mary to SLI because we're living now, like you said, now we're going probably 100 to airspeed, but it's the same idea. We calculate separately top of climb for the numbers, yeah. Top of climb and top of descent, we calculate separately, like up here, and then you'll write on the side over here how many minutes it's gonna take to get to the top of climb. Okay?
Yeah.
This waypoint's not on the start. No, it's not. The waypoint's not. Trying to find them. It's right. They have that. Like the big right here. Oh, no. It's right here. So don't prove that point. It's on the 2 3. That's it. Okay, so we're here. Oh. Oh. So, yeah, seven. I don't know. Yes, this is just 715. Okay, so PPL SA, which is this. To. Alright, but we did the VORs, which means. VORs at the top of like the year. What do you want? Top 6 seconds, sorry. I think that. Yeah. I'm straight. You like. I so I'm sure you just want to. This time we be straight or strong. Zeros, take yeah, 9. Joseph. If 8, so. Did you want to go check my math? Huh? Yeah. No, I don't think I should. I think I've already done it. It's what? PPL BP. Of course, you know, we improves the. Then it is then. One of the less. Yeah. So if you don't realize. Yeah. Question, am I able to type? Yeah. Yeah. Right. I mean, I can wait. Okay.
So I'll assume. I was doing it a long way, but this is easy because we use the same way for all of it. And it's hard for us because we're switching so much.
So honestly, if you just wanna put this top of descent off to the side, or if you just wanna continue it from Bailey Pass to the top of descent, it's just one straight line, right? It should be on the same
Yeah.
path, so we'll just continue that there. And then we'll do the numbers later.
Same.
So if we're doing, we go straight to KPS.
But this is gonna be way off from what it actually is, so still keep it in the middle, but this is really gonna be the same because it's on the same line, right? We do from here to here, we'll do the same course and then we'll figure out the amount of minutes and nautical miles that the top of descent is, and then make that mark of, okay, this is how many nautical miles of the course. Yes,
The top of climb is like from your experience when you
Yeah.
do a check ride,
yeah.
do they like to see it separate? Oh, really? So they don't. Yeah.
Like this guy. But this is easy, straight line, same
Yeah.
course, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Majority of people are able to just get it on the
Okay,
side,
okay.
it's hard to get short calculation of like field elevation minus the
Yeah.
exactly how many miles what time is. So they're okay as long as you have that information. They don't need like the whole line of information. If you have that off to the side, like top of climb will be 8 minutes and 12 nautical miles, that's what they want to see. Check, but it doesn't have to be a waypoint like it is in video.
With them feeling heat, you know? What
Yeah.
if I'm like climbing to, let's say, 10,500, right?
Yeah.
And my top of climb gonna be like, who knows where,
Exactly.
you know, and so it's a big chunk of like time and fuel. Fuel burns.
So it's dependent on the self-sustaining of like, okay, my top of design is not gonna match up with my first week, so I have that inflation on the side. But it's like, but most people are following it where it's not actually. We always have the exception, always, if it's on here, we always have the exception. Sometimes, yes. We're gonna combine them today and then do it off. Then we're off to the side of it. Always do all the calculations for top and front set. So really just add this line and also we're making the entire line. Like top of the set, probably like a line is here because we're still following the same rules. Over here, we just put like top of the line is gonna be 8 minutes and 12 numbers. Well, yeah, it's still timing, it will be. Then from there, changing your airspeed, so making it to the top of climb is the same airspeed that you want to. So it only changes once you've leveled out onto your next point after the top is still around changes. So it works the same way. Once you're after your top. Yeah,
And you still like reaching out to seal, let's say, right? So you going fast, right?
we haven't gotten there yet. Better.
You make it.
Yeah.
We combine that.
It's gonna be. Speed here, speed climbing. Six, from seal beach path. Is gonna be higher.
Okay. Yeah, I just never seen like that. It's like.
He's doing it this year.
I don't think they would be happy to see that number. It's
Expecting.
yeah. Yeah. North Carolina, have you been flying? Is it not? Nice, so you take it to your brain. Yeah. And imagine he's probably cool for five, like when it's all flood.
Yeah.
So ancient dialects. I used to fly in that kind of area. I used to fly in Ukraine and it was everything. And then we used to actually land on just on the road.
Yeah.
And you don't know. My instructor was like, "Can fly from the cornfields."
So that was just based like the most simple. To adjust because. So. Well, you're totally right. But
It's just. Oh, yeah, so right. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and fuel burn too.
Exactly.
What, you know, yes.
Have you measured? You know, that's why it's just. Which. I don't think it's such a thing to receive, I believe. Whatever that. I just think, are they? That's gonna be long, right? Like many factors. Let's go. I knew we would. Very nice.
Okay, someone give me scores. From Queen Mary to Seal Beach.
07.
Change it.
What
Oh.
block was it?
075.
075? Do we agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Off by like one, okay.
I feel like we got like 5 degrees deviation.
I got.
I got it. See, I got 0. That's 5.
Okay. Do we go?
Let's just do 7.5.
I know, so we put zero.
Whoa.
6. I just you guys. Let's see if be a section. Here. 5 degrees was kind of. There's a lot.
Must have aligned. Yes. Yeah, Ben. Yeah, should be. You think it makes sense?
I didn't.
Here's one. Is that
I guess you're good.
Yeah, I'm using 74. 74?
Same here. Oh, we got some important.
4.
Yeah.
Six sufficient.
It's hard because the waypoint is not on the larger sectional, but I measured from like the bottom of the Speedway diamond to the actual dot on the airport where the VOR is.
I
Okay,
measured from the middle of the island.
okay, that's where it's different.
Staying there.
Actually, if you have to look on ForeFlight, Queen Mary is like just below the diamond. That's why I was measuring to the bottom of the diamond. Okay. What about what's next? SLI to Santa Ana Canyon. 71, 75. Again, there's gonna be differences because it's not an airport marked on here. Let me just see. Okay, I put the canyon like right at the edge of the compass rose at like 2-4 off that Victor Airway, which is instrument flying, but if that doesn't make sense, that's fine. Put it on 4. What'd you all get?
So it's 3.
Yeah, I got 7-1.
That's just. It's just incredible. You can see the angles.
It's not bad. You all are between like a couple degrees. It's not bad, especially when it's not marked on the map. So you're.
Given the chart was.
It's not that bad. I'm just double checking. Okay, next. This one should be somewhat closer because we're going straight to the VOR.
6'8".
6'8"?
6'8".
No.
I say I'm a refuge. Don't trust me.
Yeah, she's. That's in brown.
She's very good.
No, it's the this one.
That was my. I grew up, but yeah.
What's that?
What do you know about two girls? Definitely. Lesbian. Barcelona? Okay. What's next? We gotta get through this. What's next? Someone. I don't say maybe.
You gotta look your out. 8,000, but no.
Are we still confused? You are.
Yeah, sweet. They were a week ago. So
Weird, not good.
I mean, 91. I think. Again, it's not bad. These are not completely marked, so everyone's gonna have different waypoint. Okay, so we're gonna use that same one. What is banning tabs? Actually, I might just take it off. I don't know.
It's freaked out. Yeah, yours is. No, I think. No, oh, you have.
Okay, what's banning tabs to Palm Springs?
What?
102.
103, but pretty close. I'll do 102. Okay. Okay, backtracking. What is this? I'm backtracking on the top of climate after descent just because I was trying to do it the longer way, the way that they teach in the books, but to be honest, that's not the way I did my nav logs either. I really put the top of descent and the top of climb over here on the side. So that's what I'm gonna do. Sorry if that messes up whatever, but this is just practice, so. And I think I can save this and then send it to you if you really want to look at it, but really just practicing today. This is another reason why you should be doing nav logs in pencil.
Man,
It's a good thing that everything are right there.
I think in the end, this is gonna make more sense for everyone's brain, okay? As we're talking about top of climb and top of descent, you're always gonna be doing the actual math to figure out the time and the distance for both. So we'll just put that off to the side in between where the actual waypoints are gonna be. That way we don't have to do a whole line of calculations for a top of climb or a top of descent. Does this make a little bit more sense on what we're doing? Because your top of descent should be between the Banning Pass and there, so we'll do those calculations. We always did the calculations separately, so I don't know why we tried to, or why I tried to follow this, but normally we're doing it this way because it makes more sense because we're not following a straight line like he is, so we're not following. He uses top of climb as one of his waypoints just so he can add another waypoint on the straight line. But it's not always going to be 5,500. You could be climbing to 3,500. You could be climbing to 8,500. So we're going to put it off to the side and then make note of that. But it's still important to make note of where this is going to be and when. Because they're still going to be asking you to match the time that you came up with and the distance to your nav log when you actually fly it. Okay? Is everyone cool with this? Even though I messed it up for you, sorry. Just exit out or erase it or whatever you need to do. Okay. Is everyone good on courses? Through courses should be pretty. You've done a couple of them now. So, Sweden. Here's a weird way of doing this. If this works for you, go for it. Otherwise, just remember even odd. Okay. Okay. We already picked 5,500 yesterday, right? We understand why we're doing 5,500. Yes, let's put that in. And from for the first altitude, it gets confusing for some people. They want to put airport elevation here as the altitude, but you're climbing to 5,500 from KTOA to the Queen Mary, and then a little bit beyond that when we get to top of climb. So we are aiming for 5,500. We're still should be doing 5,500 for this first one. You're not climbing to airport elevation. You're already at airport elevation, so you shouldn't be. For the traffic pattern for Torrance, we're not climbing there and then stopping until our next waypoint. So the first one should be our top of climb, where we're climbing all the way to. And then the only one that's different is where we want to end up at traffic pattern altitude when we get to our destination airport. Okay, so all these should be 5,500 until man. It sounds like
They're sitting next to Roger. No, it's it's okay. It's.
by the Queen Mary, you'll probably be just under like 4,000 something. You won't be exactly at 5,500. If you want to do the extra calculation and figure out after how many minutes, what altitude you will reach based on your true airspeed, feel free. Go ahead. Otherwise, 5,500 is okay to put here. If you want to put something in the middle and just make a guess and you want to start at 3,500, you could also do that as well. I've had multiple people do it different ways. Most of the time, you just know you're climbing up to 5,500, and anything you put under 5,500 is just going to be a wild guess on what altitude you might be by the Queen Mary. So if you want to make a guess, go ahead. You can put 3,500 or 4,000 or whatever. Then lastly, what's our traffic pattern altitude at Palm Springs? 1,500. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Next. Okay. So we have an easier way and a little bit of harder way. The easier way is to look at in between these airports. The biggest airport in the middle of KTOA and Palm Springs with winds aloft data is Ontario Airport up here, which we can use. And then for all of our cruising altitudes past when we're climbing out of KTOA, we could use that same wind data for all of this, or you've already sent this flight information in ForeFlight to your flights, you can click on weather briefing for this flight that you just created. I'm trying to do it on my phone. Click briefing. It's going to take a minute for it to retrieve the weather briefing. And then you're going to find the winds aloft table. Go low.
Did I send it?
Okay, now go up to the side. Go over to forecast. And winds aloft table. And it's gonna have every waypoint that you chose with 5,500. With the changing, it's all gonna be different, the changing wind direction, speed, and temperature for each waypoint. So for the first KTOA, we don't wanna use KTOA at 5,500. So you can go down to either 1,500 or 3,000, somewhere in between that you're climbing through, and use one of those numbers. Okay, because it's gonna give you 1,500, 3,000, 3,500, 5,500, 6,000, 7,500, all the way up to 9,500. So say we wanted to guess on where we would be at this point between our top of climb, and we say 3,500 here. If you want to guess, then you could use 3,500 as your different winds aloft data for KTOA, and then from there you would use 5,500 for Queen Mary, 5,500 for Queen Mary to Seal Beach, 5,500 from Seal Beach to the canyon, all the way till you get to KESP, and then you would go back down to the closest to traffic pattern altitude is gonna be, it has it 1,500. So you would use that winds aloft data that you're getting. Okay. Are we all looking at the same thing? Okay, so what does it say if we want to guess that we'll be at 3,500 between KTOA when we get to the Queen Mary? So what is the wind data there? Are we seeing 292, 5 knots, 15 degrees Celsius? Or is mine different?
Mine says 200.
We're not. It's 1 PM.
Probably not. I'm on my phone. Okay. So 290?
Yeah.
What was it? 290?
Yeah.
290. 290.
Okay.
4 knots, 14 degrees Celsius.
On the right, it doesn't care.
See all day. You believe that?
Standard temperature.
And their temperature.
Uh, 290. 4 knots. And 15.
This is the key to the opposite of you.
Okay, from the Queen Mary to Seal Beach should be, what's that number? I think all of mine are messed up.
The first one, it would be KTOA is a swimsuit. Yeah, so we chose 3,500 to the flow chart, so. So right now, that should be 3,200.
Oh, wow,
That's 6
I'm
now.
gonna make that places. Fine. Yay. Okay, someone tell me this so I can fill it out so we're all on the same page. Because we're gonna need all this data for the wind today so that it's now the end of class. We're gonna have to do this tomorrow based on the wins today. I don't wanna do the wins again. So let's mark all this down and save it so we can do it just based off this win data right now. Okay. Otherwise, for today, let's figure out our top of climb. How do we figure out top of climb yesterday? Does anyone remember?
Do it.
UH. Based on what? We're gonna start with where we're climbing to, right? 5,500 minus airport elevation, 100 or 103 if you want to use that, equals 4,500 divided by feet per minute, and we figured out the climb yesterday. 4 feet per minute for the climb is what? What did we figure out looking at the POH yesterday?
So,
What's the feet per minute for a climb?
said 600.
600 feet per minute. Based on the table it gives us, I think at 100 feet and 3,000 and 6,000 in the POH. So we went somewhere in the middle because we're not gonna be climbing. The number for at 6,000 feet is 500 feet per minute, but we're climbing up to 5,500. So we need to pick closer to like 3,000, which was 600 feet per minute. Do we remember that from the POH yesterday? Okay. Divide that, and then we got something. Is this like 9 minutes?
Wouldn't that be 5,400?
Yes, sorry. Whoops. Yes. 5,400. I even had it written up there. I think that's 9 minutes from yesterday.
Yep.
Yep, okay. So we'll put minutes on here too, so if we forget, we know what we're talking about when a DP asks us what our minutes is. So down here under top of climb, we can write 9 minutes, except what do we have to take into account to get to our top of climb?
The extra time in the pattern.
Extra time in the pattern, right? So we want to add maybe like 2 minutes for takeoff on the runway. We start the timer immediately when we cross the hold short line, right? So maybe we want to add 2 minutes for taking off time on the runway, on the upwind, downwind, and upwind, downwind, upwind, crosswind, and on the downwind before we're actually starting to climb. So I would add plus 2 minutes for takeoff equals 11 minutes estimated for how long it will take us to get to 5,500. So I'll put 11 minutes down here. And this is what we're using in the plane to see how close we are. Okay. It's the same idea for top of descent, which we can also do right after each other. UD. So we're gonna go from 5,500 minus airport elevation at Palm Springs is 500 equals 5,000. My phone. Okay, and what's the feet per minute that we're gonna be descending at? 500 feet per minute equals, what is that? Is it? 10 minutes. Yeah,
Wouldn't we do this at pattern altitude or no?
yes. So true. So true. We even did this yesterday. So off it today. 1,500. We did this yesterday, so this is 4,000. And then what is that number? 8 minutes. Okay, that looks better because we have 1,500 down here. Or it's gonna take us 8 minutes to get to traffic pattern altitude. So 8 minutes out of the airport, we wanna do start our descent, so 8 minutes. And we're already in the air, so we don't have to account for any extra time in the pattern or whatever. Okay, does this make sense now? Yeah,
Using art or I'm
any chart?
like size.
No, you can also look at, where's the? If we wanna look at fuel burn for how much fuel we're gonna burn during our flight, we look at fuel consumption. 5.5, and then that's based on RPMs. So if we're at cruising RPM, it's gonna be around 5. But if we are at full RPM, 5,500, it's gonna be closer to 6 gallons per hour. This is the only other chart that has to do with calculations. Because from here, with the minutes and the ground speed, we can figure out how many nautical miles estimation for top of climb and top of descent, and then we can figure out a quick estimation for how much fuel we need for top of climb and top of descent, but those are the only charts that we have in the POH. Was he talking about the coach chart? We use a general chart called the KOCH chart, which we'll talk about tomorrow, but that's used to find density. Using density altitude and pressure altitude, we use the coach chart to figure out takeoff and landing distances, which is part of what we have to do for our nav log on the back end, but we haven't even finished the nav log yet, so this is what we use. But we're putting in, we figure out pressure altitude, temperature, and then it gives us a percent for our increase to our takeoff distance and a percent for our rate of climb based on this, which we use for our performance calculations, but not necessarily for the nav log. Yeah. So we'll talk about this tomorrow, hopefully, when we finish the rest of this, but yeah. This is what we're doing today. Okay, so does everyone have the winds written down at least so I can get this from them tomorrow? And then we're gonna use the winds from today and everything else should be calculated after that. Oh, I see. I probably can't. Because I don't think it. Thanks.